March 10th? What's March 10th? Who needs to wait till March 10th? The Bears are making splashes right now. I know, guys. Bears Twitter opinions, they're all over the place. If you saw my immediate reaction video, it's authentic. You're going to get that from me. I'm not going to hype every move. I'm not going to sugarcoat everything. I'm going to make sure I get all the information later. But that was my immediate reaction video, and I was not excited to bring on an injured and backup guard. He's not a backup guard, but last year backup guard for $17 freaking million. Now, new information is coming to light that make this something that I can live with. It's not my top priority, but I understand why the Bears are making this move. It makes sense why they're making this move, and we move forward with the move. I will give you the implications, the salary cap, the details of the trade right here in this video. I do appreciate you guys tuning in. So, first of all, the Bears do trade the Los Angeles Rams for former Detroit Lion guard Jonah Jackson. Of course, everyone knows Jonah Jackson worked with Ben Johnson. Ben Johnson arrived in Detroit in 2019, 2021. Jonah Jackson became a Pro Bowl guard. That term is used way too loosely because he did not have a Pro Bowl caliber season. Again, I'm going to give you authentic takes. I'm not going to hype things up that shouldn't be hyped up. But he is a very high caliber guard. He was signed to a 3-year, $51 million contract for a reason, but he did not have a spectacular contract year. Similar to Tevin Jenkins is what you would give this one. Tevin's probably going to get paid by someone, probably 3 years, $60 million. Jonah Jackson last year got paid 3 years, $51 million. Very backloaded contract. So Spotrac has locked it up. But I remember looking at this one last week, and when I looked at it, Jonah Jackson was owed $9 million this year, and it was roughly $5 or $6 million in bonuses. Now you're going to say that's a $17 million average. I remember looking last week that his overall last year of his contract is $22 million. It's a backloaded contract. Now, the nice thing we're learning as things come out is the Bears are not going to be on the hook for much of that dead cap next year. So this is basically a trial this year at $9 million for that base salary. The Rams are taking on the rest. So this contract won't be executed. You can't trade for players right now on March 4th. You have to wait till the new league year, which would be on March 12th. So on March 12th, this contract will be executed. It will be traded. And that bonus is something the Rams will pay for. So the Rams will pay that portion of it. The Bears will be on the hook for $9 million. So I feel much better about this deal and him being the left guard and drafting someone behind him to develop. Because I mentioned that exact same scenario. Bring in vets, bring in guys that have experience, and then develop players behind them. Now, we're missing out on a 6th-round pick because of this, so we won't have someone later on to draft. But we've seen what Ryan Poles can do. He can take that 5th-rounder, he can take a 3rd-rounder, he can take the 1st-rounder and trade down, and he can get more picks out of them. So I'm not extremely worried about losing one draft pick that's late. I've always said those are things you can use to negotiate, to sweeten things, to be able to use as leverage. So getting Jonah Jackson for a 6th-rounder is actually a really good value. The thing I was worried about was the salary cap associated with that. So I'll go here, pull me off screen. This is the news regarding all of this stuff. And first of all, my immediate reaction. You guys saw my immediate reaction video, so you've got that. But fine with the player, the salary cap is absolutely atrocious because Adam Schefter said Jonah Jackson is scheduled to make $17.5 million in salary this season. The Bears are taking on his contract per source. Rams don't retain any of Jackson's salary. Well, that came out later and showed that was not necessarily true. And I said props to Carl with Ty and Smy for sharing this with me. If true, I can accept this as a better than eating $17 million in cap. As I said, I'm fine with the player. I just can't accept the cap hit when there's better options for $17 million. Now, if you're talking $9 million and developing a player behind him, I'm actually all on board with this one. So sorry to flip-flop with you guys. Sorry to change the opinion. But that $8 million is very valuable to me. That is something the Bears need. And it's not like, and I'm going to show the salary cap in just a second. It's not like we have unlimited cap. Those positions are valuable. Interior offensive line, going after Drew Dahlman, going after, a defensive end. These positions are valuable and they're going to be expensive. So let's pull up the salary cap here. Let's pull up right here. Here's the salary cap, roster figures. And on this channel, we track every little penny to make sure we're up to date with where the salary cap is. So let's just scroll through here. This is my tracker, and you can see we have on the side here 9 million. Let me actually... Okay, start over with this thing. As you guys know, we've got our salary cap tracker. Let's put this thing here, and you can see we added Jonah Jackson there. Sorry, at $9 million. Now, next year, his cap hit. Don't fact check me on this. I'm going off my memory because Spotrac has locked it up for now. Once they've unlocked it, they always do that with big news to try to get people to subscribe. Once they unlock that, I'll update this. But roughly 3 million-ish is due for dead cap next year if we retain him or if we cut him. If we retain him, he's going to be very expensive. So I would imagine a restructured contract probably even relatively soon if Ryan Poles and Ben Johnson really like him and they want to get this thing worked, or they'll just cut him next year and sign him to a new contract depending on how he does in 2025. But $9 million against the cap is not bad at all. And I would expect with news like this that we're probably going to keep Ryan Bates as a backup guard. The Bears are not afraid of that caliber of player. It's just going to depend on how Ryan Bates' injured shoulder looks when all is said and done. But here's the counter on the side with the 10, 11, for the total 53-man roster, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. We'll scroll on down through here. You can see the updated cap. That includes all those at the top there. $23 million on the offensive line now. We scroll down. So here's the needs we have: defensive tackle, defensive end, another linebacker. And that's the other news that just came out, is that the Bears are not tendering Jack Sanborn's restricted free agency. He will hit the open market, so we're not going to tender him. So we will be looking for a new linebacker. 71 tackles last year. I really like Jack Sanborn. Maybe we'll sign him in free. I don't know. We'll see what happens. We had an offer. We had the opportunity to match any offer he had, and in fact, that's what I thought would be a done deal for Jack Sanborn to go ahead and just match whoever. But they must see the salary cap market going up and worried about matching that offer for him. So Jack Sanborn will be a free agent. We have needs there. Okay, so as we get to the bottom here, let me just show you. So we have 34 guys on the active 53-man roster that will count. I'm not counting guys like Alex Cook and these practice squad players and these, reserve future contracts. I'm not counting them. And some of them will be cheap, like long snapper. That'll be basically a $1.2 million contract, a league minimum contract there for the long snapper. But there's our salary cap as it sits right now with those 34 players, $196,879. Now, you'll remember the rookie cap was higher before, but taking that sixth rounder out brings it down to, this is it to the penny, $11,770,183 will need to be allocated for the rookie contracts, so 7 contracts. So count that as 41 there. We still need to sign 12 contracts between that $67 million that we have left. So that's where the salary cap stands, of spendable salary cap right now. So let's get into actual Jonah Jackson, though, a player that I actually like. I don't love, but I like the ability that he's had with Ben Johnson, that Ben Johnson's worked with him and liked him. He's very high prospect. He was developing every year. Very, very similar to Drew Dahlman. So I won't be shocked if we go get Drew Dahlman. Just a mean streak. When you watch him on tape, I watched him a week and a half, 2 weeks ago, whenever the rumor was that the Bears might be going after Jonah Jackson. All right. Former third-round pick, 75th overall, drafted in 2020 out of Ohio State. 6'4", 311 pounds, just turned 28. So just barely turned 28 years old. And this right here on the side, this is Los Angeles Rams depth chart last year. Now, you're going to hear people saying to you, he was a right guard. They're full of crap. Here's all his positional stats through the year. Look at all the times he's played left guard. Now, last year in L.A., they tried to move him around, and that was part of his down year, but more than anything, it was an injured shoulder. But when he came back, he did get beat out by Steve Avila. So let's not mince things. He did not beat Steve Avila out. Now, Steve Avila is progressing and a very high prospect. 2 years ago, I was very high on him in the draft. So I'm not saying it's terrible. Kevin Dotson, also a really good right guard they picked up as well. So they've got their line pretty much. We'll see what happens with Alaric Jackson there. But Jonah Jackson was backing up. So here's the nuts and the bolts of it. He was injured preseason on his shoulder, came back week 2, re-injured it, then came back, I believe it was around, we'll have to look, actually let me pause it. Had to look. So it was week 10. He came back, but there wasn't a spot for him because Steve Avila was playing so well. So he started at center, played poorly, then he got benched. And it wasn't just because of the injury. He came back and he did not beat those guys out. Steve Avila was playing so well. They didn't see a place for him long term. They brought him, don't mince words, they brought him at $17 million a year, 3-year, $51 million contract to be the starting left guard of the Los Angeles Rams. Just injury plagued him, and then, not plagued, it was one season. And then the last game of the season, he did fill in at right guard and probably had the best game of his career. So looked really good, but nothing that screams off the paper of, oh, you can't miss with Jonah Jackson because, see there, 35 pressures, 26 pressures, 24 pressures. That's getting better, and you like to see that. What I like on tape when you watch Jonah Jackson is he's mean in the run game. So he's very similar to me to, out of Atlanta, Drew Dahlman. My goodness, brain fart when you're trying to go through 15 things in your head. Very mean streak in the run game, and I'll show that in just a second. I'll just take you guys straight to Twitter. That's one of the easiest ways that I like to show you guys things. His pass pro needs a little bit of work. You can see there every year, 59, 62, 653, 656, 51, and a lot of pressures allowed. He was with the Lions, so it's not like he wasn't around good teammates. He was eventually replaced in Detroit, and that's why he went somewhere else. But he's when he's on his pass blocking game, he's really good, and he's spatially aware. So I like that. So I don't hate the prospect of Jonah Jackson. I just didn't like $17 million a year. 1 year at $9 million, drafting a rookie behind him. I really like that. In fact, let me update you guys and show you. So of the 19 positions, I show you now we have 34 on the roster, so we need 19 left. Here's those 19 positions that we really need help filling out. Left guard as a starter was one of them, so we filled that. But now, this was the Justin Fields pick, by the way. So we got that from the Steelers. 197, sixth rounder. That was our pick for Justin Fields. We no longer have that. That is now Jonah Jackson. So we have 7 picks overall. First, 2 seconds, a third, a fifth, and 2 sevenths. And there's our salary cap sitting there with 19 more roster spots to fill. Likely 5 of those with these draft picks, potentially 2 more. You can't bank on them to make the roster. So at least 5 of those coming from the draft, you would think, somewhere in here. We still need to hit free agency with this other $67 million. Some of those can be, exclusive right free agents like Bill Murray, Daniel Hardy, some of those guys. So we'll see what happens when it comes to the next week and where we go from there. But here is the depth chart now. So Braxton Jones, Jonah Jackson next to him. It looks better to have someone in there. So Braxton Jones, Jonah Jackson, Darnell Wright. We still need some help here, and we'll see if we hang on to Ryan Bates. It seems more likely that we're doing that now than before. But let me pull up Bears Twitter. I'm just going to pull this on here. And in fact, right off the bat, I don't know who that is, but am I the only one that likes the Jonah Jackson move? Only traded a 6th-round pick, only paying $9 million of this year with an easy out after the season, cutting him if he's bad. Now the positives below. Let's see that. So here's his positives. Let's see. So he says Jonah's only 28. He's also familiar with Ben Johnson. Let's go back to that for 1 second. All right. He was in a bad spot playing right guard when he's naturally left guard, going back to his position while also finally being healthy. The new O-line coach, I don't know, that's not all necessarily true there. He was playing left guard primarily. Played center week 10 and injured when he was playing right guard with his best game of the season. But let's just scroll through some more of this. All right, let's just type in here Jonah Jackson. All right, let's see here. Adam Schefter. Trade. Rams are in the process of signing vet. Blah, blah, blah. All right, George. Jackson was Brandon Thorne's 6th-ranked guard going into last season. Tier 2 left guard for him. That's kind of cool. Yeah, like I said, really good prospect. Rough year last year. Everything changes every year. I don't think he would be in the Tier 2 this next year, but he is a good prospect. We'll see if he can come back from his injury. This is good to look at. So here's from Nick Moreno. Watch held up Vita Vea there. So we'll go through a couple of these little highlight videos. It's always good to show the highlights, not the lowlights. But he holds up Vita Vea right there. You see on the left side, he's the left guard on that one with Detroit. So that looks really good. Oh, here's a run. I saw this one before. Here's a running play. Watch him out here breaking. That's what you want to see in the run game. So stuff like this, though, makes me think we are going high on a running back. You know, maybe even Ashton Genty. For those who love Ashton Genty, getting these run blocking linemen that are really stacked in the running game, I can see us doing that for sure. At last game of the season, PFF grade of 91.8, as they're saying. Trust Ben Johnson in the process. We're officially in the Trust Ben Johnson era. See if I can find one more highlight for you guys. Here we go. Forget the inconsistent interior offensive line shuffling that Jonah Jackson dealt with in LA. Plug him in at left guard and watch him work. He is a stacked. I mean, watch the highlights and you'll come around on liking him. Again, the only thing I didn't like was the $17 million price tag. $9 million I actually agree with. Draft someone behind him and we'll see what we can do. I would expect, well, just scroll through a little bit here. Yeah, we're pretty much done. I would expect Ryan Poles to trade down with a pick now because we have so many needs to fill. I would expect a pick to be done, a trade down to be able to be done, to be able to acquire more draft capital. I would expect that at this point. But is it guaranteed? No, we're all in speculation mode. That's what this time of season is. It's speculation season. But bringing this back up, here's the salary cap. We now sit at $67,583,000 of spendable salary cap. So yes, we do have room. $9 million was nice. If you would have attacked 8 more of that, we would have been down to $59 million. I wouldn't like that nearly as much, but we're still in good shape. We can't go out and sign. We're not going to sign Trey Smith. We're not. Obviously, you guys know he got tagged, so we're not going to trade for Trey Smith now, left guard. This would be the type of move that overcomes the Trey Smith talk. We're getting Jonah Jackson. Then I would expect us to draft a guard to develop behind him. We'll see now in 1 week from now if the Bears are aggressive, get, say, a Drew Dahlman, get Kevin Zeitler and fill that offensive line, and then maybe, get a Khalil Mack for the rumors that are going on. Get Khalil Mack, get a defensive tackle, shore up some of the lower-level contracts with some exclusive right contracts, some lower-level contracts, and then build the depth in the draft for those background guys, and you might see an Ashton Genty. This is a type of move with a solid running back type of guard, one that can pull, one that can lead the way, one that's a bruiser, not the best pass blocker, but really good at it, developing, getting better every year. But if we fill in all these contracts here with these type of contracts and then develop guys behind them through the draft, you could see, I can see the path where they would take an Ashton Genty or an Amarian Hampton or a running back higher than maybe many of us would want them to because we want them to have starter quality guys here. Or another thing, this could be alluding to the Bears really want to take a defensive lineman in the first round. You get to the defensive line group, we need to have a nose tackle, a defensive end, and they might be focusing and saying the same thing we've said before, that this defensive line is too good to pass up on the first year. So we're going to take some of these guys that can lead the way on offense, and Ben Johnson's spoken about how we need to be 8 deep on the offensive line. Okay, both those second rounders are going to be depth here. Maybe Jared Wilson and maybe Donovan Jackson here to learn behind these guys. And then you get a running back in the third round, and we take a defensive tackle, Walter Nolan if he falls to us, or a Mason Graham. There's rumors about him falling to us at 10. Take them in the first round, and then take these other positions to back up here because your draft picks don't always start just because you draft them in the first, second, third round. It's a good spot to have someone like Jonah Jackson with experience at only $9 million to develop someone behind him. And if he beats him out, then great. If an injury happens, then you've got a good quality guy right there. So I don't hate this move anymore. The $17 million compared to $9 million is the deal breaker there for me. So I don't hate this at all. We'll see what happens from here. What the real next move is for the Bears, because this is just the tip of the iceberg. This is the beginning. So this is where it starts. Those are the salary cap implications. This is where we move forward from here. I don't want to keep doing these short 1-2 year contracts, but to be able to have a vet at $9 million, that's this quality of a vet. He's not your top tier. To me, he's not a Pro Bowler. Yes, he's been to a Pro Bowl, but he's not a Pro Bowler. He's had an injury. He did lose out his spot last year, but this is way better than a Ryan Bates type of thing. This is a player that can play ball. He can move. I have confidence in this decision. We're going to trust Ryan Poles. We're going to trust Ben Johnson on this one. And I can see the vision of why after it's only $9 million. So let me know your guys' thoughts in the comments. Till next time, the Bears and bear down.